What if a single quiet decision made in Washington could place an extra $2,000 into your hands without Congress ever taking a formal vote, and without most Americans realizing it until the money actually arrived? If you are over 60 and living on a fixed or carefully planned income, that question probably made you pause. And it should, because when headlines begin mixing words like stimulus, executive order, and exact date, it can stir up hope, confusion, and worry all at the same time. Today, I want to slow everything down with you. We are going to remove the noise, take the emotion out of the headlines, and calmly walk through what has actually been said, what has not been promised, and what this could realistically mean for you. My name is Sara, and for many years I've worked closely with American seniors and retirees, people just like you, helping them understand government decisions, protect what they've earned, and feel more confident about their financial future after 60. I've seen how fast-moving financial news can create unnecessary stress, especially when it involves money you depend on. My purpose here is not to excite you or alarm you. It's to give you clarity, balance, and peace of mind. By the end of this conversation, you'll have a much clearer picture of where things truly stand, without hype, without pressure, and without political noise. Just steady, reliable information you can trust. Over the past several days, there has been renewed attention around a possible $2,000 payment. You may have heard it called a stimulus check by some and a dividend by others. This attention did not come from anonymous social media posts or online rumors. It came directly from comments made by the president during a recent interview. That detail is important because it explains why this discussion has returned so suddenly after months of relative quiet. For many seniors, that silence felt confusing. When help is mentioned and then disappears from the conversation, it's natural to wonder if it was ever real in the first place. In this recent interview, the president made two statements that immediately caught attention. First, he suggested that these $2,000 payments could still happen later this year. Second, and this is what truly raised eyebrows, he indicated that congressional approval might not even be required. In other words, he implied that this could potentially be done through an executive order. That single statement is responsible for most of the headlines you're seeing right now. And I understand why. Many seniors remember how long previous stimulus programs took, how many debates there were, and how uncertain everything felt at the time. The idea of bypassing Congress sounds almost too simple to believe. Before we go any further, it's very important that I'm clear and fair with you. As of today, there is no official proposal document. There is no finalized eligibility list. There is no confirmed payment date. And there is no signed executive order. What we have right now is an update, not a guarantee. Protecting your financial well-being means knowing the difference between the two. Hope is healthy, but clarity is essential. What we do know is that this idea did not appear out of thin air. It goes back several months to when the president first floated the concept of a $2,000 payment per person with income limits attached. Shortly after that, the message was reinforced with an emphasis on helping low and middle-income Americans rather than high earners. Around the same time, comments from within the Treasury Department suggested income thresholds somewhere near $100,000, though those figures were never finalized. That detail matters, especially for retirees who rely on Social Security, pensions, or modest withdrawals from savings. For many seniors, the most confusing part is not whether the money would help. Of course it would. The confusion comes from not knowing whether to count on it, plan around it, or simply ignore it altogether. That's why I always encourage a calm, grounded approach. Government payments, when they arrive, should be treated as support, not as the foundation of your financial plan. The moment we start emotionally depending on money that hasn't arrived yet is the moment anxiety takes over, and none of us need more of that. Let's talk for a moment about what an executive order really means, because this is where much of the confusion begins. In simple terms, an executive order is a directive issued by the president to manage how the federal government operates. It is not the same thing as a new law passed by Congress. Think of it as instructions on how existing laws or resources are carried out. Some executive orders are small and procedural, others can have significant impact. Presidents from both political parties have used them for decades, especially during times when Congress is divided or slow to act. The debate here comes down to authority. Some legal experts believe that if funds already exist under certain programs or emergency powers, an executive order could direct that money toward payments like this. Other experts argue that creating a new large-scale payment program would require explicit approval from Congress. That's why you're hearing such mixed opinions. Both sides raise valid points. Until something is officially signed, challenged, or implemented, no one can say with certainty how it would unfold. What matters most for you is not which legal argument is stronger, but what this uncertainty means for your expectations. Even if an executive order were legally possible, that doesn't mean it would happen quickly. It doesn't mean it wouldn't face challenges, and it certainly doesn't mean money would appear overnight. Executive orders can still be delayed, revised, or blocked, especially when large sums of money are involved. This is why a steady mindset is so important. The mention of an executive order does signal that the idea hasn't been abandoned. But seriousness is not the same as certainty. The most responsible approach right now is to stay informed without emotionally depending on an outcome that has not been finalized. You may have noticed the phrase "later this year" repeated in coverage. Those three words may sound vague, but in government language, they are actually very telling. When leaders speak that way, it often means there is intention, but not urgency. It suggests that something is being considered carefully, weighed against other priorities, and timed strategically. For seniors who depend on predictable income, it's important not to fill in the blanks. Later this year is a wide window, not a promise tied to a specific month. Speculation about summer, fall, or the end of the year is understandable, but it's also where stress begins to creep in. There is also a practical reason not to expect immediate action. Even if leadership decides to move forward, there are administrative steps that take time. Eligibility rules must be clarified. Payment systems must be coordinated. Seniors remember how long it took for previous checks to arrive, even after decisions were made. That memory alone should remind us that patience is part of the process. Another concern many people raise is whether the money even exists. You may hear statements like, "There's no money left," or "the government is broke." Those claims can sound frightening, especially if you're already watching every dollar. But the federal government does not operate the way a household does. It does not rely on a single bank account. It draws from multiple sources and uses tools individuals simply do not have. That said, ability and willingness are two very different things. Just because funds can be sourced does not mean they will be allocated in this way. Decisions about spending involve priorities, trade-offs, and long-term consequences. Capacity does not equal commitment. From a retirement planning perspective, this distinction matters deeply. I've seen seniors feel relief too early, believing support was guaranteed, only to feel disappointed later. Staying grounded protects both your emotions and your finances. So, what does all of this realistically mean for seniors? Based on what has been said so far, the focus appears to be on income. That aligns with past programs. Payments like this are usually aimed at people more likely to feel the strain of rising costs, groceries, utilities, housing, and medical expenses. That often includes retirees living on fixed incomes. However, nothing has been finalized. We do not yet know how income would be measured. Would it be based on last year's tax return, current income, household income, individual income? These details matter, especially for seniors with part-time work, required withdrawals, or irregular income. Until those rules are clearly defined, no one can say for sure who would qualify. And anyone claiming certainty right now is guessing. What should you do at this moment? The answer is simple. Stay informed, but stay cautious. There is no application to fill out. There is no number to call. There is no form to submit. If someone contacts you claiming they can help you secure this money early, that is a red flag. Whenever headlines mention government payments, scams quickly follow. Real government payments do not require upfront fees or requests for personal information through calls, texts, or emails. This is also a good time to quietly review your own financial picture, not because of this possible payment, but because awareness brings confidence. Knowing your monthly expenses, your steady income, and your cushion, even if it's modest, helps you feel secure regardless of what happens next. If extra money arrives, it can be used thoughtfully. If it doesn't, you are still standing on solid ground. That mindset is far more valuable than any single check. Many seniors share something deeply personal with me. They say they are not asking for handouts. They are asking for fairness and stability after a lifetime of work and contribution. That feeling is valid, and that is exactly why clear, honest information matters. As we bring everything together, here is the steady, honest summary. There has been renewed discussion about a possible $2,000 payment. The idea has not been abandoned, but it has not been finalized. Executive action has been mentioned, but not confirmed. Timing has been suggested, but not scheduled. Eligibility has been discussed, but not defined. That may sound like uncertainty, but knowing exactly where things stand is empowering. You are not behind. You are not missing out. You are simply waiting for clarity, and that is okay. Paying attention to your finances, even when things feel unclear, is a strength. Taking the time to understand updates like this, rather than reacting emotionally, is something to be proud of. Steady, informed steps matter more than any headline ever will.